Complaining about your studies or chores? Imagine that in the 19th century you could be paid to put your legs into a swamp for leeches. Or how about being a royal rat catcher, where you'd have to catch rodents with your bare hands in dark basements?
And what about special companions, who were punished instead of the prince whenever he failed a test?
Today we're trying on the wildest jobs in history. Let's go! If you feel like studying for exams is sucking the life out of you, meet the leech collectors. In the 19th century, doctors believed these worms were a cure-all, even for a bad mood. But where to find them? Exactly, send volunteers into the swamp. Instead of rubber boots, they waded into the murky water barefoot. The plan was simple: stand in the muck and wait for the leeches to attach themselves to the skin. Sometimes collectors spent 6 hours in the water, and when they emerged, their legs were covered in hundreds of slimy creatures, swollen to the size of sausages. These people were paler than ghosts and constantly became extremely weak and exhausted, all just to sell the live cargo for pennies. Still think doing the dishes is hard work? Imagine, you're in an elite classroom with a prince. He fails a Latin test, throws a tantrum, or breaks an expensive vase, but it's you who gets punished. Why? Back then, the monarch was seen as almost divine, and no teacher dared touch the future king. So every heir had special companions. The idea was psychological. The prince and the boy grew up as best friends. Seeing your only friend punished for your mistakes was supposed to create such guilt that you'd follow the rules. You might ask, why would anyone even take such a job? The answer is simple. It was a ticket to high society. When the prince became king, he often made his special companion a personal advisor or a minister. But imagine going to class every day knowing that your friend's laziness would turn into punishments meant for someone else. And here's a profession for true adventure seekers: the mudlark. In Victorian London, hundreds of teens waited for the low tide on the River Thames every day. As soon as the water receded, they plunged into the thick, foul-smelling mud to find anything of value. It was the most dangerous real-life treasure hunt simulator. The mud wasn't just dirty, it was filled with sharp glass, rusty iron, and the city's waste. Mudlarks worked barefoot, feeling through the freezing muck with their fingers. You could spend all day waist-deep in the icy river and find only a rusty nail or a piece of coal. But there was hope. Sometimes the river gave up gold coins lost by sailors, ancient daggers, or jewelry fallen from bridges. The hardest part was not getting trapped by the tide. The Thames rises very quickly, and if you got too caught up looking for a silver button, you could be pinned against the high stone embankment walls. If you're scared of spiders in your room, the 19th century rat catcher is your nightmare. Back then, cities were overrun with rodents, a real biological threat. Rat catchers were like local superheroes and rock stars of the slums. Queen Victoria's most famous rat catcher, Jack Black, wore a bright red vest and carried a cage of giant rats to prove his skill. They rubbed scented oils on their hands to bait rats and caught them with bare hands or trained terriers. The top pros wore capes pinned with hundreds of rat tails, like medals of honor. It was a job where you could be bitten at any moment, and every day felt like a real-life survival challenge. Jack Black was frequently bitten, which could lead to serious illnesses, but he kept going because it was the only job where you felt like the master of the city while everyone else was jumping onto tables in terror at the sight of a single tail. Think a computer is just a screen and a GPU? Until the mid-20th century, it was a job title. To calculate rocket trajectories or complex math tables, they hired hundreds of people to do it all in their heads or on paper. It was incredibly tedious. One tiny mistake and the whole project was trashed. Imagine doing a super hard algebra test for 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, with no calculator and no way to Google the answer. It was true extreme mental pressure, where your intelligence was used as just another gear in a giant machine. Friends, every time you think your job is hell, just remember the guy in the swamp with leeches. Our history is a mad carnival of strange decisions.
That's it for today's story. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I'd be super grateful if you could subscribe to the channel.